Back, I should issue the invitation right now. Any candidate who wants to announce here on JMA, we're happy to have you at any time. But let's talk a little bit more about what the results mean for these various candidates. Mark Halperin, Hillary, of course, dominating right now. And there's thought on whether the president's defeat helps her or hurts her. Where do you come down?
Well, it helps her certainly because the party needs a savior. And right now, as Dan Ball's piece we mentioned earlier points out, there's not a lot of other people in the party right now, in Congress, amongst the governors, who can represent the future. She's powerful as someone with a big following on social media, who can raise a lot of money, who's nationally, internationally known. Her operation does not deal with new data very well. They obsess over everything. They overthink things. She's now got a complicated landscape. Does she oppose Republicans in Congress? Is she the candidate to say, I'm going to win things back for the Democrats? Or is she the candidate who says, I can work with Republicans, I can break the gridlock?
Well, I think strategically, I'm not convinced she's going to run, but strategically, yeah, I'm still not convinced. I mean, first of all, who wants the job is my thinking. Like, I guess that way. But think about it, is that now she can run, she doesn't have to run so much against President Obama. She can run against a Republican House and a Republican Senate. So she doesn't have to offend the Obama base by saying basically that he didn't do a good job and that he ignored you. So strategically, she's in a much better position.
But people are sick of gridlock. You start running against the party that's just taking power, that turns some people off.
People want a plan. They want a plan for the economy. And I think Hillary Clinton has an opportunity to really make a compelling case of how we can grow the economy in this so-called era of inequality. So I think she should just sit back, let all of the dust settle, let the Democrats figure out what happened, and then sometime in the spring emerge with a plan that can really bring this country
together.
Even
when she sits back, all the attention comes to her. You know, we have this partnership with Facebook, which kind of tries to track the sentiment, called the Centimeter, over the course of the days leading up to the midterm elections. You see right there, she got about 100,000 more mentions than Chris Christie, double Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Jeb Bush far behind. Now, Ben Smith, you all are having a partnership with Facebook as well on BuzzFeed. That's the volume. What about the quality of the interaction?
I mean, I think what's so interesting is that if you we're just getting the first slices of this data, and you see really unusual things like Joe Biden is of any of these politicians on there. I mean, I think the really interesting thing to see is going to be that these vast new networks. Facebook has something like 185 million Americans on it. That's a lot more than any TV ad campaign is going to reach. They favor different stuff. They favor spontaneity. They favor goofiness. I mean, the ice bucket challenge was this strange thing that came out of nowhere and spread, at a scale that really wasn't doable without billions of dollars in TV advertising before. And I think it'll be interesting to see how these candidates and whether they can navigate that. I mean, these aren't traits that Hillary Clinton kind of came up in politics.
And that leads to a question, John Heilman, for Chris Christie on the Republican side. Probably a big winner on Tuesday night. The chair of the Republican Governors Association had a lot of big wins, including in Democratic states. And he's going to see whether his kind of straight talking, sit down and shut up style works.
We're going to find out about that. If he decides to run, obviously he's waiting, like a lot of people in the Republican Party, is waiting to see whether Jeb Bush is going to run.
Can he not run if Jeb runs?
Well, I think he can run. I think he may run if Jeb runs, but that's going to set off a huge contest between two potential heavyweights for who's going to be the establishment favorite, who's going to get the donor class, how the donor class is going to go on that, because that matters a lot, obviously, in the Republican primary. There's also a couple other winners who came out of the midterms. One is John Kasich, the governor of Ohio, who won re-election by 31 points and got a quarter of the African-American vote in Ohio, which is really pretty staggering in a huge and important battleground state.
And took Medicaid expansion, which is a big deal in that state for the moderate and the Democrats.
By moderate, that's why he won by 31 points, because he ran kind of to the center. And then you got Scott Walker, who was on the precipice of having his whole political future obliterated and ended up winning a relatively convincing victory in Wisconsin, and now at least can take a look at it.
You know what the problem, though, that Governor Christie has? I mean, we all sort of look like, well, he's the head of the Republican governors, and then the Republicans had a big night. 2 years from now, though, we're going to be looking at the economy in New Jersey, and so far they've had 7 credit downgrades since the time he's been governor. That doesn't look good. So I think that many of the voters are going to be looking towards governors, and when they look towards governors, they're going to actually dig in and look at the numbers. Really do running the states, because people care about the economy. The war on women. I think the independent women, they weren't talking about the war on women, and that sort of turned out to be a little bit of sort of a silly slogan, because the women are more concerned with the kid in their basement with the $100,000 student loan who can't get a job. Meanwhile, the Republicans are walking around with that slogan.
You got a lot of senators looking at it as well, Ben Smith. You still got Rand Paul out there, Ted Cruz out there, Marco Rubio waiting to see what Jeb Bush does as well.
Yeah, I mean, these are all, it's a wide open field. I mean, one thing I was going to say about the sentiment data around Chris Christie, it's a little bit positive, pretty split, very negative inside New Jersey.
A big, strong Republican field, but I'll tell you, there's a vulnerability when you think about matching up with Hillary Clinton. Foreign policy and national security. Right. Even these senators, they're mostly younger. Even Jeb Bush does not have a defined foreign policy vision, has the legacy of his brother. And you go through, Chris Christie has refused to weigh in on most international issues. That's a real vulnerability for them at a time when the country's looking at that stuff.
Donna Brazile, that Hillary gets the nomination, but she's every single front runner. She's the biggest front runner Democrats have ever had. Gets some kind of a challenge that really draws blood.
And remember, she was the big front runner in 2008, and all of a sudden Barack Obama.
You see a Barack Obama on the landscape?
Well, no, but I do see Elizabeth Warren, who is very popular with the Democratic base. She has a message that resonates with people, and who knows? I mean, Greta talks about the war on women. She talks about the war on women's paychecks and the fact that women are making less because we're not doing more to help them. So I still see, Hillary has a hard road.
There are two governors out there that the Democrats are sort of sleeper candidates. Of course, Governor O'Malley.
Say their names because we have 5 seconds left.
Oh, Governor O'Malley, but also Senator Manchin, who was governor of West Virginia, moderate Democrat.
Neither will run against.
Hard to get them to win into the Democratic primaries there. Up next, 25 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, our Sunday Spotlight shines on that earth-shaking moment in history after this from our ABC stations.